Hello everybody, and thank you for tuning in today to the Ron Paul channel. There's still a lot of news coming out of Iraq with the problems there, especially since ISIS has come to the forefront. Seem to have surprised a lot of people, although they have been working at organization for quite a bit. But all of a sudden, out of Syria comes the Islamic State and gets a foothold into Iraq, but there's a lot of panic over this. John McCain is nearly hysterical about this and why we don't bomb more people and send more weapons. But Martin Dempsey, the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staffs, who should know a little bit about it and has some responsibility, he says he has no evidence that there's anything imminent or planned for that group to be able to or expect them to do anything here in the United States. So national security really isn't threatened. What is threatened is maybe a little bit of prestige about the continuation of our failure of our problem in Iraq. There's been a lot of talk, but this weekend there was, I guess, a sort of a victory against the Islamic State at Amerli. But the headline said in the New York Times, it says, U.S. aids Iran-backed militias. Now that's brilliant, and now there's a relative success. So, you know, the Iranians weren't supposed to be our friends, and yet we got rid of Saddam Hussein, who was an enemy of the Shia in Iran. And, of course, we encouraged Saddam Hussein to have a war against the Iranians. Now what are we doing? We're aligning ourselves with the Iranians to try to push back this violent group that has started to occupy northern Iraq. But the real irony of this whole thing is the groups that came together. You had the Shia militia were involved. Kurds were involved. Obviously, it's in their territory, and they don't want ISIS there. U.S. air power, and we had the Iranian interests all in there to try to push back ISIS. But the first responsibility of U.S. air power was listed. It was said, what we have to do is go in and destroy the American weapons. What's this? We have to go in and destroy America. Oh yeah, we had put a bunch of weapons into Syria and into Iraq. And ISIS, you know, when they started coming in, the forces who were supposed to use these weapons and the people who took them under pretense in Syria, all of a sudden they were armed with our weapons. So what we had to do was go in and bomb and destroy those weapons. And of course, it didn't take long for John McCain to say, you know what we need? They need more weapons. Send them more weapons and to help solve the problem. So I don't know why, if that doesn't wake some people up, nothing ever will, because it just goes on and on. And the militias that we set up really didn't do the trick. They were the ones that dropped their weapons and ran. And it was interesting that the Barter Corps, which was al-Sadr's group, that actually gave us a military defeat at one time at Fallujah, they're in there back on our sides. So if you can use the word, it's very descriptive. It's a policy of schizophrenia. One day we're doing this and sending weapons. The next day those weapons are with another group used against us. And then what do? We just respond by going back in with more weaponry. I am not very encouraged by this at all. Obviously, it's been going on too long, and yet it looks like the military-industrial complex are going to win. But this, in combination with the scare tactics of saying that Russia's about to invade and take over Europe, it's just amazing that people buy into this. But there's a media-industrial complex, too. So the propaganda is endless. Sunday news shows. How many individuals did they interview to point out some of these things and say, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Maybe the policy is wrong. But no, everybody's a hawk. Everybody wants more. Obama's getting really a lot of heat, mainly because he's not aggressive enough. But the one reason why this won't work. Let's say something happens that we can get things relatively settled, and everybody would leave, and we would just leave the Arabs and the Muslims there to settle their disputes. There wouldn't be any settlement. it would still be Shia against the Sunnis. And that war's been going on for 1,300 years. It's a religious war. It's intense. And we just get involved in that, and we intensify a civil strife and civil war that's been going on for a long time. I thought Eric Margolis had the best description of this, because he reminded us of what Saddam Hussein said, that if we invade there, that would be the mother of all battles. And of course, Hussein was thinking, well, it's going to really hurt the United States. Well, Eric Margolis says, this is the mother of all blowbacks, is what ISIS is doing. And it has surprised a lot of people, but quite frankly, if we did less, we would have more. If we did less, there would be more peace and less of a problem. So let's hope someday that we'll wake up and not wait for the total bankruptcy of this country and the total destruction of the dollar. We ought to just use some common sense. I want to thank you for tuning in today to the Ron Paul channel. Please come back soon.